When you look at the Hall of Fame, there are numerous great players in there. You have guys like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, and later this year we're going to see the induction of Kobe Bryant, God rest his soul. But then there are players that should be in the Hall of Fame, and when you look at their numbers and their accolades, it makes you question why they are not. And in today's video, we're going to talk about 5 players that should be in the NBA Hall of Fame. But before we continue this video, you guys, make sure you stay tuned till the ending of the video so you can see the top 3 comments from my last video that I posted, because I will be reading them and shouting them out. If you want to have your comment shouted out in my next video, make sure you drop a comment down below on your opinion of my top 5 players that are not in the Hall of Fame, and then I will read the top 3 comments that I find the best in my next video. But make sure you stay tuned to see the comments that I have picked from the last Trae Young video. But without further ado, let's talk about 5 players that should be in the Hall of Fame. Now I know a lot of people are probably wondering, bro, Shawn Marion, that guy with the whack ass jump shot? Well, that guy with the whack ass jump shot was definitely one of the better players of the 2000s. A lot of people forget that he was an elite defender when he was in his prime. Despite the lack of any All-NBA defensive team selections, everybody that watched Shawn Marion play know that he was one of the better defenders at his position, and he was basically carrying the defense of those Phoenix Suns teams with Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni, because we all know they didn't really play that much defense. It was all really left to Shawn Marion, and a lot of people forget that he was ahead of the small ball stuff. He was a 6'7" power forward that was able to grab around 12 rebounds a game in certain seasons, while giving you around 18 to 22 points on a night-to-night basis. People forget that he was a 20 and 10 guy. He would go out there and give you 20 points and 10 rebounds, and also playing elite defense, and he did that for a good period of time, and then had to sacrifice his numbers for the sake of the system that Mike D'Antoni wanted to run through Steve Nash. So when it comes to him not being in the Hall of Fame, it's kind of sad that we give players so much credit for sacrificing numbers, players like D-Wade and Chris Bosh, but then when it comes to Shawn Marion, the reason he's not in the Hall of Fame is because he did exactly that. But hopefully one day he'll make it into the Hall, because he deserves it. Ben Wallace was never an offensive force. He was a guy that went out there and would give you around 5 to 7 points and not that great efficiency, but would grab double-digit rebounds, and the biggest part about his game was his effort on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, this is a guy that was nominated for multiple All-NBA defensive teams, a lot of them being first team, and was the Defensive Player of the Year on 4 separate occasions, and both of them being back-to-back. And what's crazy is that he won Defensive Player of the Year in 2002 and 2003, and then didn't win in 04, but then won again in 2005 and 2006. So that means had he won in 04, he would have been a 5-time Defensive Player of the Year and would have done it 5 years in a row. That is crazy that he was so close to that kind of feat, but obviously he didn't do it, so it is what it is. And when you look at the story that he went through, being an undrafted player, it just makes his accomplishments feel that much more special, because it is a testament to his hard work and his determination. I mean, think about it. Nobody picked him in the draft, and then he ends up becoming one of the greatest defensive players, not just of his generation, but of any other. And honestly, the fact that he is not in the Hall of Fame when he was such a key part to one of the biggest upsets in NBA history, the Detroit Pistons beating the 2004 Lakers, that added Gary Payton and Karl Malone in the offseason, and a lot of people thought they were a super team, and then he out-rebounds Shaquille O'Neal in the finals and plays good defense on him. I think that, in combination with his accolades, should be more than enough to get into the Hall of Fame. Tim Hardaway is definitely one of the more forgotten players throughout NBA history. At his peak during his time in Golden State before his devastating knee injury that caused him to miss the entire '94 season, this is a guy that could give you around 20 to 22 points while also dishing around 10 assists a game on pretty decent efficiency, and was a really good 3-point shooter for his time period. In certain seasons he would take around 4 to 5 threes a game, and even in seasons where he's attempting well over 7 threes a game, he's still shooting above league average. So one would think with the skill set that he brought to the game, especially with the crossover that was very influential to players like Allen Iverson, and even to modern players like Kyrie Irving and Steph Curry, one would think he would be in the Hall of Fame. And then combine the numbers with the accolades of 5-time All-Star selection, selections, 5 All-NBA selections, and one season that I think is very underrated where he averaged 20 points and 8 assists and led the Miami Heat to a 61-win season. So with all of that being said, why is he not in the Hall of Fame? Well, I don't want to get too deep into it, but Tim Hardaway has made a lot of inappropriate comments about a certain section of people, and if you know, you know. And I believe that's probably the reason why he is not in the Hall of Fame, or maybe it's the fact that he doesn't have that much postseason success because, let's be honest, he was usually eliminated in the first or second round, and then the time that he actually had a chance to get to the finals, he choked with the Miami Heat. But still, there are players like Tracy McGrady who has not even gotten out of the first round throughout his entire career, but he's in the Hall of Fame, so I guess that's not really a valid point. Regardless, he should be in the Hall of Fame. His accolades and numbers speak for itself. Combine that with his impact on the game, he should be in it. But hopefully one day we'll see him giving a speech getting into the Hall of Fame, and we won't see somebody else doing it for him, if you know what I mean. For those who don't know, I have been a huge proponent for Chris Webber making the Hall of Fame. I've talked about it on Twitter, and I actually even have a video where I said Chris Webber might be the most underrated player in NBA history. Because people forget that Chris Webber was far ahead of his time. A power forward that could go out there and give you around 20 to 23 points while grabbing double-digit rebounds and passing the ball very well for his position, as in certain years he would give you around 4 to 5 assists, and in some years he tried to extend his range to the three-point line and knock down a 3 or 2. Not saying he was Dirk, but he could still do it every now and then, kind of similar to how LaMarcus Aldridge does it with the San Antonio Spurs. But when you look at the fact that Chris Webber was able to put up the numbers that he puts up, combined with the All-NBA selections of 5 and 5 All-Star selections in the Western Conference where you have power forwards such as Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki, and Tim Duncan, I mean, obviously they're going to overshadow him, but shouldn't it even be more of a credit to him that he was able to accomplish what he accomplished in that difficult Western Conference? And people always forget that in 2002, he led the Sacramento Kings to the Western Conference Finals and probably should have been in the finals had it not been for a few bad calls. And if he had made the finals, I probably guarantee you that he would have been in the Hall of Fame because they probably would have won that year. But if I'm being honest with you guys, I really think the main reason that he is not in the Hall of Fame is because of the scandal that he went through in college at Michigan. For those who don't know, he received $200,000 from a local booster, and then there was a whole trial and everything, and he was found guilty, and then he was banned from Michigan for a while. And if that's why the NBA is not putting him in the Hall of Fame, then shame on them, because literally every college player, or at least a lot of college players, take money, and to ban Chris Webber from the Hall of Fame, basically kind of blackballing him from getting in because of some scandal that took place before I was even born, I don't know whether to call that pettiness or stupidity, because you're literally just screwing over a guy that deserves to be in, and you're screwing over his fans that want to see him get into the Hall of Fame. Hopefully one day we see C-Webb get into the Hall of Fame because he more than deserves to be in it, and every year and passing second that goes by that he is not in the Hall of Fame, the NBA is screwing him over. The case of Chauncey Billups not being in the Hall of Fame is one of the most ridiculous things that I have ever seen. Not only is he an NBA champion and a finals MVP at that, but he is a guy that was a great two-way player, a 5-time All-Star, and a multiple-time All-NBA defender, and in his prime could give you around 16 to 18 points as well as 6 rebounds, and from 04 to 2010 shot 42 to 43% from the field as well as shooting 40% from 3. It really blows my mind that he is not in the Hall of Fame, especially being the best player on a championship team that was one of the biggest upsets of all time. Literally beating the Los Angeles Lakers and outperforming Kobe Bryant, averaging 22 points and 5 assists while shooting 51% from the field, as well as 47% from 3 and 93% from the free throw line. Yes, he shot 50, 40, 90 throughout that entire series while giving him the business also on the other side of the ball defensively. Don't get me wrong, Tayshaun Prince also did his thing on Kobe Bryant on the defensive side of the ball, so I'm not trying to give all the credit to Chauncey Billups for how bad Kobe Bryant played offensively, but if you go back and watch that series, there were critical possessions where Chauncey Billups would hold his own against Kobe Bryant on the defensive side of the ball. So when you look at all the accolades that he has, putting up the numbers that he put up in that final series, leading the Detroit Pistons to one of the greatest upsets of all time, why is he not in the Hall of Fame? But yet guys like Reggie Miller, Tracy McGrady, guys who haven't really won anything of that much significance are in the Hall of Fame, but yet Chauncey Billups, who has led his team to a championship while being the best player, has yet to make the Hall of Fame. I mean, I haven't even heard rumors of him being even in consideration for the Hall. It's really sad and disrespectful how we minimize winning for certain players, but yet we'll praise someone who hasn't even made it out of the first round of the playoffs throughout his entire career because he scored 13 points in 30 seconds. You get what I'm saying here? Not trying to take anything away from certain players that are in the Hall of Fame, but let's be consistent on how we judge guys, because to see someone like Chauncey Billups that has done everything that you want out of a Hall of Famer, winning a championship, All-NBA selections, All-Star selections, and hell, even when he won the title, winning the Finals MVP, to see him not in the Hall, not only does it make the Hall of Fame less legitimate, but it just makes the Hall of Fame feel less special, and it shouldn't be like that. But that concludes this video, and before I end this video, I would like to read the top 3 comments from my Trae Young video. Shout out to Triple W Productions. I don't know if that was a pun on Triple H. That's really one of the reasons why I picked this comment. But he said he's got no help but John Collins. The rest are either bums or inconsistent young players. Trae and Collins are the only consistent players, which is facts. Trae and John Collins are really the only consistent offensive pieces that the Atlanta Hawks have. Guys like Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter, they're not going to really be that consistent for this team, and they've shown that so far in their careers. But then the next comment that we have is from Ronnie Augustine. He said he's one of the top scorers already in his second year in the league. I wouldn't say that until at least later on. I agree, he's already one of the best scorers in the NBA by year 2, and the fact that people are trying to hate on him and minimalize his numbers is really just sad. Now the next comment and the last comment that we have is from Brandon Hayes. He said, I'm not a hater, but Trae Young ain't the next Steph Curry, he is his own player. That is facts. Let's not say that people are the next coming of other players. Let's say that they are their own man. Trae Young is the next Trae Young. He's the one and only Trae Young. He's not Steph Curry, nor does he have to be. So let's not put those kind of expectations on his career. But that concludes this video. If you want to have your comment read, make sure you drop a comment down below and I will shout you out in my next video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell to be notified after every single video that I post. Drop a like so I can keep making fire content just like this. And if you guys are not following me on Twitter and Instagram, what are you doing? The links are down below in the description box. Make sure you do that after watching this video. Y'all have a great day. It's your boy Young Mustard signing out. Peace.